Keep watching the sky. Watch the sky. Everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the sky.
I take a glimpse at the time, watch the blimp read the world is mine.
If I rule the world,
Imagine that.
we won't let. If I rule the world, if I rule the world, if I rule the world, all up to the sun. I free all my sons. I love them, baby. I love them, I love them, baby. I love them, I love them, baby.
This is a place where people sell their souls out for money. You know they do. All the eyes of the world are on you. They all wanna see just what you're gonna do. Don't commit suicide, you gotta keep on glowing. Don't commit suicide, you gotta keep on glowing. Yeah. Yeah.
Nightmares. 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 Nightmares.
Running through the city streets and I can't stop. I'm being chased. Buildings whiz by and the bystanders move just as fast. Yet they are still and I am sprinting. I can't stop. I'm being chased. Sirens call for me, but I cannot stop. My feet just hit the concrete in rhythm. Left foot, left, right. I can feel my shoes for the first time and the suit I am wearing slows me down. But these officers are teaming up. They have cars and guns, especially guns. But I am running through the streets and I can't stop until guns go off. Without warning, my assassin begins my ending, and I collapse to the ground. The chase is ended. I see no white light. I see no train. Before I went, I saw myself viewed from above. The scene is grim. I'm sprawled out in the ground with a couple bullet holes, police taking notes and controlling traffic. But as I look closer to my lifeless face, the mystical illusion begins. The body is mine, but the face is that of the ancient philosopher Socrates. The face comes to life, winks at me, and utter these words. Alarm. 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 I woke up today feeling everything was strange. Next day, same thing. No better. No change. I reached to hit the off button and realized that I've just had another nightmare. Confused from waking, I fumble out of bed, stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition. Yawn and stretch. My life is a mess. My desk is a mess too. A mess of law books on my desk. Books open from looking at the precedent on this case. My case. Newspaper clippings from this case sit on the table and my picture stares at me in the face. People have been asking all sorts of questions. Why? Why did he deny an attorney? Why was he interviewing known terrorists? Why was he even talking with them? What was he doing teaching our kids? Especially that question. What was he doing teaching our kids? Our college students? The newspaper describes the importance of this case. Am I an example or the only one? The official charges haven't even been filed. The legal analysts on the news think I'll get a first-degree obstruction of justice, a new change under the recent National Act. But conservative analysis say more. I could get third or even second-degree treason charge for cooperating with known terrorist groups. And that's what they want. Me to go to jail. Or even die. Because I questioned them. Without supporters, even the left has abandoned me. The books I've written, forgotten. My awards, forgotten. No mention in the articles, no balance, only an evil picture of me. I'm a menace. Why did they use that picture from my anti-war speech? In the paper's picture, I look angry, mean, threatening. My face isn't the face on the photo. I feel my face. Splash water and a towel to dry it. It faces me in the mirror, and it is not the face being splashed on the news. And the public needs the facts. I should know. I get called every hour of every day for comments. I had to unplug the phone. As I flip on the TV, I'm confronted with the world's problems, the world's violence, the destruction. Painful to watch and even harder to stomach. They claim I am the criminal, not the bomb launchers, the terrorists, or the government funding the violence. Instead, I have been labeled society's menace. I am only a philosopher, a student of the world, and I live to understand. Lace my shoes and grab my briefcase. Must be there by 10 o'clock for the first day of the case. My case. Another nightmare, another day. Why won't they let me be? Another day, another nightmare. Reason won't get me out of these chains, these handcuffs. But I try to ignore the sounds, the prison guards' boots clapping, the echoes, the screams, and try to rest. This alone is a battle, and I start to count sheep. 1, 2, 3, 4. The dizziness continues, but now I can make out the faces in front of me. One is my accuser, the other is a judge down from the stand. On the right is a crowd of people yelling for my imprisonment, my ending. They all begin to ask me questions at the same time. Funny voice, funny question. We are in a courtroom and I am on their stand. I asked for their patience and promised to answer all of them in due time, but they could not stop their rage, their prosecution, their persecution. They keep asking the questions, and I cannot answer them all at once or as rapidly as they...
Mr. Samuel, you have decided to provide your own defense in this case, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this should be interesting. You do understand the severity of the charges and the risks involved in refusing to hire a team of defense lawyers?
I would think the risk would be in paying other individuals to fight my case, Your Honor. I care about how this turns out, and this case determines my future. A lawyer, on the other hand, eats whether I am convicted or cleared of these allegations.
Well, let's begin. We will start with your defense, and I will open the floor for a cross-examination from the prosecution. Under the National Act, there is a limit on the amount of time allowed for this case and decision. Mr. Samuel, I suggest you answer the accusations against you in a timely manner. One of the concerns of the prosecution is that you will try to mislead the court, so please stick to the facts and your basic defense. Also, under the pretenses of the National Act, with the judge's approval, the prosecution is allowed to ask direct questions in this situation. Do you understand this, Mr. Samuel?
Yes, Your Honor, but...
Okay, this should be interesting. You have been accused of turning your back on your country, misleading and lying to hundreds of impressionable minds, not cooperating with the authorities, and the most serious of charges, threatening our national defense by cooperating and defending terrorist groups and the terrorist mindset. Under the new National Act, you have been charged with first-degree treason. The jury, a jury of your peers, will determine if you are innocent or guilty of these charges. When... If you are found guilty, you will be officially sentenced today at this hearing. This case is important to you, our justice system, and our country. Please begin by stating your case.
Well, I know the charges that I have been accused of. I've been reading them for weeks in the papers from jail. The arguments that I have read were so convincing, I almost convicted myself. But convincing or not, they are lies, extensions of the truth. They have even condemned my speaking style, my way of talking. They have warned you time and time again about my dangerous way of talking. They say I have a certain skill in speech and manipulating the truth. But I am not a skillful teacher. I am a truthful speaker. I will speak normally, without practice, without rehearsing. And I am assured truth will come out, and I will be set free. So please excuse me if my speech isn't proper, filled with jargon. I will try to explain these points the same way I explain material to my peers, my class, my friends. So please excuse me if my thoughts are developed in an informal way, as I refuse to rely on the same scripted note cards as the prosecution.
Okay, move along, Mr. Samuel. What of the case?
Sorry. This is my first time in court. I'm an old man, and I've never been in this setting, so the whole thing is new to me. I'm trying my hardest to follow the practices of the court, but like I said, I'm asking all of you to allow me to speak in a language and fashion that is most natural to me. Consider me a foreigner to the court. As we accommodate foreign speakers with patience and tolerance, please allow me to speak in my natural form. In a trial, the details of the case are important, not the way the case is delivered.
Thank you, Your Honor. My regards to you, Professor Samuel. You twisted the details so well that I almost bought your argument. Not quite. Mr. Samuel, you have been accused of corrupting our youth, even inspiring a traitor terrorist, a detail you forgot to mention. Yes, during the Center City bombing investigation, you neglected to file reports, and the names of some of your ex-students seemed to magically come up. I've been seeing this for years, Your Honor. One of our fine students takes his class and loses his mind, changes positions, supports the anti-war movement, starts taking drugs. You know the subculture, the scum of our country. But not all of his students are lazy drug abusers. Some of them also take action against their own country. Traitors. The most serious charge Mr. Samuel faces involves terrorism. As I mentioned, one of his former students was involved in the planning of the Center City attack. So involved, in fact, the student's fingerprints are on checks, weapons, and vehicles used to plan and prepare for the bombing. Mr. Samuel, therefore, is linked to the crime. He taught that student to hate his country, his way of life. He has treaded on American values again and again, and is a threat to our future
Please
generations.
define how I'm a threat. Because I seek the truth? Because I seek answers? You have accused me of misleading college students and creating radicals, terrorists. I have done none of these things. You should be guilty of bringing people up on frivolous charges. The court should convict you of that. But I'll answer the charges. Supposedly, I'm corrupting the youth. This is absurd. Professor Mason, who should these students follow? What makes students good?
The law.
You know that's not what I meant. Who should teach them the law?
Upstanding citizens, lawyers, unbiased and upstanding professors.
So this includes everyone, except me. I'm alone in corrupting the youth. If I'm corrupting them, I want to know who is educating them. Who should they follow?
That's right. That's why you're on trial. You have goals and plans, and they are not in the best interest of these students or the best interest of our state.
So you are claiming I intentionally mislead the youth. Professor Mason, you have watched me for years without uttering a word of help or advice. You are obviously wiser than me, and in my state of ignorance, you could have pulled me aside and mentioned your discontent. But instead, you bring me before this court, the state. And this is the place where people are punished, not enlightened.
Mr. Samuel, need I remind you of the severity of the charges you are facing? Your personal relationship with Mr. Mason is of little relevance to this case, and your defense has ended. I don't understand how...
I understand the severity of the trial. I do, Your Honor. But you are mistaken if you think that a man who is worth anything should base his actions on fear of death or the prospect of a better life. Our heroes are men and women who stood on value, in life and in death. And it seems we should follow their lead. This is why I've continued informing you. I have a duty and a responsibility to our nation to help enlighten those who wish to be enlightened. I have as much of a responsibility to help challenge our youth as Professor Mason has to teach them about being upstanding and right citizens. Listen, if you acquit me of these charges and require me to stop doing research, assisting the youth in finding the truth and the like, I will not take your offer. Jurors, I have a duty to my country and mankind and my God to seek the truth and to help others find the truth. I have a duty to uncover injustices and transgressions, and I will not neglect this duty for anyone. I have continued to assist others in learning at the expense of my own personal wealth and reputation, and the trial is not going to stop me from informing students who are willing to listen to me. This is about my soul, not my body, and not my mind.
Soul? Professor Samuel, you care nothing about God. You care nothing about your state. Soul? You are soulless. You are godless. But you talk of souls in front of this court? You create false gods in your classroom. Gods of communism, gods of terror, and gods of hate. He is an atheist, refuses to believe in the divine, and this is his personal choice. However, he crosses the line when he teaches these false teachings at our state institution to our children.
This is pure flippancy. Professor Mason claims on one hand that I do not believe in high power, God, or gods, and labels me an atheist. Then, in the same speech, he claims I create gods. Professor Mason, you are not convincing. Not even to yourself, I suspect. You are attacking me out of anger, out of aggression, and your words make little sense. But I will use your start, Professor Mason. You say I believe in spiritual things, gods of communism, gods of terror, and gods of hate. But you claim that I am godless. How can this be? How can I teach on gods but be an atheist? It is either one or the other. Or
Professor Samuel! You are misleading this court. You act as if you are rooted in the principles of Christianity, of morality. This is far from the truth, and your life is far from squeaky clean. Your record, your reputation has kept you from entering politics. So you sit in your classroom and walk the street. Morality on others. And
I've been driven by world leaders to continue my research to help others seek the truth. I've been a benefactor to the city,
to this state. And if you try to put me to death, an action my accuser would love you to take, you will only be harming yourselves and your nation. You will not find another like me, and you should spare my life. Even give me back my liberty for that reason alone. In this state, we glorify antiques, symbols of the past. They are valuable, but they are precious. They are unique. They are different. Well, my style of research, my questions are clearly outdated under this new regime. And for this reason alone, I should be cherished, not punished. Diversity in thought is a good thing for a civil society. It may seem very odd to you that I spent the majority of my time in books, research, and private dialogue, and very little time in public life. This is because I've seen the examples ahead of me. I have heard the stories of martyrs killed for teaching in the public realm, and some even killed for teaching in private. I am sure if I took part in politics, I would have been killed a long time ago, and my life would have been a waste. No help to society, and not too exciting for me either. This, jury, is why I have stayed out of politics. Not because of a bad record, as Professor Mason put it. I can offer specific examples of the danger of politics and why I have remained outside of politics. Remember the Middle East war protests? I agreed to give 2 speeches and to write a letter to be displayed on the webpage. And the regime was ready to arrest me, detain me. The news reporters stirred up the controversy and made the story top news. Imagine that. I was the feature story during a war in which thousands of our soldiers were dying. I was the threat, not the leader, not even the real enemy, but me. Professor Samuel was a threat to a harmonic state? Right. This happened under our...
Off the street.
That should be all, Mr. Samuel. Any last comments from the prosecution?
Although Professor Samuel is clearly guilty of these charges, we have other evidence we need to introduce. We have other evidence we
But it is illegal to
Rather than hear you argue and complain, I'm going to reject the evidence offered by the prosecution. Please strike the Attorney General's last statement. Please sit down, Mr. Attorney General. We are trying to finish this case. Bailiff, could you please escort the jury to the chambers so they can rule on this case?
Every day, I'm told to grow up and be rational, be reasonable. My parents were rational, but be reasonable. My parents were rational. Every day, I'm told to grow up and be rational.
Thank you, Bailiff. In the case of the State versus Samuel, the jury finds the defendant guilty of first-degree treason. Under the National Act, sentencing can immediately follow the ruling in cases of treason, and we will proceed with the punishment for this case.
First of all, I'm not guilty. Your court may have ruled that way, but I am not guilty of these charges.
Cut the BS, Mr. Samuel. Society, are you at all sorry for your actions? For endangering our country, our youth?
First, let me say this. I'm not really surprised by the result. I'm actually more surprised by the amount of time it took the jury to reach a decision. I would have thought they would have condemned me in a much shorter time. As it is, I have been found guilty by this court. It's standard. And the prosecution wants me to die. Not surprised by this either, because we live in a society driven by death and destruction. I have never lived a comfortable life. I have never cared about money, $1 million home, power, or any of the other stuff. Instead, I lived a life of private service, helping others help themselves, helping others find themselves, to find the truth, all while trying to find myself. This is how I served the state. What do I get for this? This case. But I should get more than our athletes, more than our movie stars, than our politicians. These people give off the facade of success, but I give you reality. These million and billionaires do not need your support or help from the state, but I do. I suggest the state pays me to teach, to do research. Many of you have been fed lies by the media, by my accusers, and by the swiftness of this trial and conviction. But I am no conceited traitor or a danger to the state. I have never knowingly harmed another individual, ever. It should be our government put on trial. As I have said repeatedly, our military, our officials should be put on trial, not me. You have me on trial. While we have a war machine funded by our government, influenced by corrupt business, we have children dying in another country. While CEOs of weapons companies, while the bosses sit behind their desks and charge billions to blast humans in calves and arms. Only one side is allowed to have bombs. Strange ways, strange nation, strange regime. But I am the danger, the threat. The youth do listen to me, but you act as if I twist their wrists and grab their ears, their minds. I do no such thing. I will not stop searching for the truth. I cannot. To do so would be a betrayal of mankind in this world. I cannot offer a punishment an amount. I have no money. I would gladly give over my salary for freedom to continue my search. Many world leaders have offered me help financially in this case, and maybe they would be willing to pay the fine.
That's enough. I gave you the benefit of the doubt, and I didn't want to do this. You have shown no remorse for your actions, and maybe you are, as they claim, a lunatic. Mr. Samuel, for your actions and contempt, I sentence you to the maximum penalty allowed, death. The execution will take place tomorrow. Get out of my court. Bailiff.
I get cold sweats every morning, waking up from nightmares about heaven being this padded room that God says I'm never leaving. I wonder am I dead or breathing? I think he's punishing me because I think people look better bleeding. I ain't crazy. I seen for Prozac and codeine to keep my mind floating, hoping I don't hurt somebody for no thing. I ain't crazy. I remember brighter days before I was abducted by the grays, and now my mind's amazed. Every morning, waking up from nightmares about heaven being this padded room that God says I'm never leaving. I wonder am I dead or breathing? I remember brighter days before I was abducted by the grays, and now my mind's amazing.
I'll be needing that. He's not a dangerous man. Dr. Samuel, I'm a reporter for the public news station. I was wondering if I could come talk to you for a few minutes. Talk to me? Or ask me more questions for the news? Talk to you, Dr. Samuel. Well, let's talk. I don't have much time.
I must say, I have been inspired by your resilience and your commitment, even in the face of danger. This is why I decided to do this report, to find out what was really going on with this case. Your case. Were you at all surprised by the decision of the court, of the severity of your punishment?
No. After the ruling, I simply found myself detained again, in a society that imprisons radical thought. Of course, I was a bit saddened by the death penalty. Wouldn't you be? Why must they play the role of God and speed up my death? I am 64 and nature would have taken its course. Instead, I have found a sooner death than nature intended. But I have escaped evil and ignorance. Their punishment will fall upon them, and it will be more painful than my death. Their punishment is the darkness, the pitch-black world in which they dwell. The ignorance is comfortable now, but in the end, the truth will prevail. I don't really know what to think of my penalty. Death. Since I haven't experienced it yet. And I can't fear what I don't know. But this is probably the least severe of the proposed punishments. I couldn't live behind bars for the rest of my life. And I have no money to pay a fine.
Do you regret the way in which you handled your case? Do you think a different argument, a different defense would have helped? Maybe legal advice?
You think I was condemned because of my arguments? The judge and the jury would have loved to see me beg and apologize, but I refused to do these things. The judge asked me to apologize for my actions. This is like asking me to apologize for my life, for my soul. I would never do this. Others may have resorted to these measures, but I would much rather die as the result of defending myself than live as the result of begging. They will kill me, and I accept my sentence. But those who have convicted me will also have to accept their sentence.
Very strong words. You do have international supporters, and even some supporters in the state. Don't you have a responsibility to them to defend your life in the best way possible? In court, you talked of a duty to world leaders.
Yes. My supporters should look at this sentence as a blessing. We always assume death to be evil. Death is either one of two things. Either it is total annihilation, and I will no longer exist, have no consciousness. Or it could be a simple change, the migration of the soul to a new place.
You're not at all afraid of death, Dr. Samuel?
Everyone must look forward to death, and I believe that there is a reason my life turned out this way and will end this way. There will be some good result. It could take 20 years, it could take hundreds. It is almost time for me to be off, for me to die and for you to live. But as to which of us will have a better future, only God knows.
Dr. Samuel, you're not going to try to escape. I just find it odd that you fought your case with such vigor and passion, but you were willing to just accept death without a fight. Why won't you try to escape? Better yet, why don't you file an appeal? Even if you lose the appeal, you could buy more time to get out of here. Your supporters, much of the free world looks to you. To me, it seems as if you're throwing away your life. You could easily save it and live in peace, or at least you could try to save it. The news expects you to try to escape to put up a fight. Your supporters are urging, advising you to seek your own freedom.
I don't take my advice from the media or masses of people. If I did, I wouldn't be in this situation. Majority advice is simply a collection of amateur opinions on a given topic. I have always relied on expert advice. And since I am the only person who truly knows the fact of this case and the details behind it, I will rely on myself. I must listen to my heart on this one. As I said in court, the soul is more important than the body. I must take steps to protect my soul. But this is only one reason I refuse to attempt an escape. It is an act of injustice. It is against the laws of the state. While my first commitment is to my soul, I also respect the laws of the state.
I would never have guessed this shining patriotism on your part.
It is far from patriotism. It is about order. Laws bring about order. Therefore, I respect and abide by them in most matters. Even if I were to escape, I would be a lawbreaker for the rest of my days. No one would respect me, and I would be a dishonor. No. This is the course that nature intended for me.
Is there anything else you need to say? This could be your last statement to the regime, to the world.
My life will be my last statement. Please show the true story.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel.
I am weary, and as the reporter walks away, his feet provide the rhythm which rocks me into dream world. I look at the gray walls and find my escape. I am in a great green field, taking in the air and walking free. I start to hear faint noises and turn around. Deep in the green meadows miles away, I can make out some figures. The figures grow in size and they're coming toward me with increasing speed. I start to walk away, but they are gaining on me. Over my shoulder I see enemies, but I also see the faces of those who turned on me. And it's strange because I can't see Mason. They give chase and my sprint begins. But through the meadows uphill, they still chase me. Somehow I make it to the top of the mountain and cannot escape their chase. With hope, I look upon the town below and close my eyes and fall free. I seem to fall for hours and hours and hours. I can no longer hear their screams, their hate. I let it all go and watch it all fade away. Watch it all fade away. Watch it all fade away.
saw the wisdom. He changed positions. He changed positions. Wisdom. That's the kind of mindset
We need to invade their countries, kill their leaders, and convert them to Christianity.
Wisdom.
No, it will kill them. No, it will kill them. No, it will kill them. It will cause them to flee, and we will win. No, it will kill them. 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 No, it will kill them.
You don't kill innocent civilians. Like if somebody robs my house and I think the guy who did it is probably in a neighborhood across the street, I don't go out with an assault rifle and kill everybody in that neighborhood. You don't kill innocent civilians.
Terrorist acts. Terrorist acts. Terrorist acts. Ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat.
And I pray that God will spank them. Yes, I pray that God will spank them. Put death in their families, death on their relatives, and death on their friends. I pray that God will bring that on. Death. And I pray that God will spank them.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. And I hope they burn in hell. And I hope they burn in hell.
The only way you get justice is in the street. The only way you get justice is in the sidewalk. The only way you get justice is in the street. The way you get justice is when you meet justice for yourself. The only way you get justice is in the sidewalk. The only way you get justice is when you meet justice for yourself.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. And I hope they burn in hell. And I hope they burn in hell.
So make sure you obey the law. Make sure you never commit a crime. Make sure you never defeat. So make sure you obey the law. Make sure you never commit a crime. Make sure you never defeat. So make sure you obey the law. Make sure you never commit a crime. Make sure you never deviate from the law. Deviate from the law. Deviate from the law. Make sure you never commit a crime. Deviate from the law. Make sure you never deviate from the law.